Something happened in Washington that America has never seen before. A sitting president just ordered an investigation into a former president's own White House. Yeah, you heard that right. Donald J. Trump wants to know who really ran America when Joe Biden was in office. This isn't rumor. This isn't cable news chatter. Trump signed a presidential memorandum in September 2025 directing federal investigators to dig deep. The target? Biden's inner circle. The stakes? Nothing less than presidential legitimacy. Here's the kicker. If Trump proves Biden wasn't in control, the fallout won't just scorch Democrats. It could rewrite the very rules of American power. Let's set the stage. Biden entered office on January 20, 2021 at 78 years old, the oldest president in U.S. history. Early approval ratings looked strong, 57% approval in spring 2021. But then came the cracks. By late 2022, his approval crashed to 38%. Gallup. Afghanistan withdrawal chaos, pandemic mandates, inflation hitting 9.1% in June 2022, a 40-year high. Inside the West Wing, power clustered around a handful of names. Ron Klain, Chief of Staff, Susan Rice whispering on domestic policy, Jake Sullivan shaping foreign decisions, Merrick Garland steering DOJ calls. To critics, Biden wasn't leading, he was delegating survival. Fast forward. January 2025, Trump is sworn back in as the 47th president after defeating Kamala Harris with 312 electoral votes to her 226. Vice President J.D. Vance at his side. And almost immediately, Trump goes for Biden's jugular. His memo calls for a review of decision-making irregularities from 2021 to 2024, Afghanistan, border, climate, and the big one, $113 billion in Ukraine aid approvals. This isn't just political theater. This is a sitting president asking, did my predecessor actually run the country?
The shockwave was instant. Trump's directive opened the door to subpoenas against Biden's most loyal lieutenants, Ron Klain, Susan Rice, Jake Sullivan, even Merrick Garland, names once shielded by the Oval Office now dangling in the open. Trump's words were sharp. The American people deserve to know who was really in charge. If Joe Biden wasn't making the calls, then who was? Democrats erupted. Chuck Schumer raged that this was revenge politics on steroids. Hakeem Jeffries called it a constitutional backfire waiting to happen. MSNBC warned Trump was turning America into a banana republic. But Republicans smelled blood. Speaker Mike Johnson shot back. Democrats impeached Trump twice for far less. Accountability isn't revenge, it's justice. Fox News splashed shadow presidency probe across prime time. The public? Split, but not dismissive. A Rasmussen 2024 poll already showed 46% of voters believe Biden was not fully in control. And now, that question isn't rhetorical, it's on the investigation docket. Think about that. Nearly half the country doubts Biden even ran the show. Social media turned into a battlefield. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag who ran the White House. Hashtag shadow presidency. Hashtag Biden probe. Millions of Americans weren't just watching, they were choosing sides. Inside DOJ, nerves cracked. Career lawyers admitted no president has ever ordered a probe this invasive into a predecessor's staff. But here's the reality. Trump controls DOJ leadership now. The machinery is moving, and the media poured gasoline. CNN blasted Trump's witch hunt. The New York Times leaked whispers that Biden's aides stepped in when the president was too exhausted. Fox doubled down. Proof Biden was a figurehead. Outrage, betrayal, exposure. It wasn't a drip of news, it was a flood.
The immediate fallout, chaos. Republicans in the House already drafting subpoenas. Oversight committees lining up hearings for early 2026. Former Biden aides preparing legal defenses. Democrats, meanwhile, are cornered. Schumer vows to block it in the Senate. But here's the legal twist. Subpoenas could come through DOJ channels, bypassing Senate blockades, meaning Biden's team could be dragged in whether Democrats like it or not.
The public is restless. Independents groan at another Washington circus. But Trump's base? Energized. They see this as payback for years of impeachment theater. One GOP strategist said it outright. If they put Trump through hell for 4 years, why shouldn't Biden's team face the same fire? Legal scholars are sounding alarms. Harvard's Lawrence Tribe warned, "We are entering uncharted territory. If every president investigates their predecessor, transitions will collapse into warfare." But Trump allies shrug. For them, this isn't a bug, it's the point. To expose Democrats as power hoarders, to drag hidden operators into the light, to fuel Republican momentum heading into 2026 midterms with 34 Senate seats on the line. And whispers are already louder. Could this probe uncover criminal exposure? Imagine evidence that aides greenlit Ukraine aid without Biden's sign-off. Imagine memos proving Susan Rice pushed mandates Biden never endorsed. That wouldn't just embarrass Democrats, it would ignite a constitutional meltdown. And that's where the pivot comes. But here's the part nobody is talking about. What happens if this actually goes forward? Could Biden's inner circle face subpoenas, criminal charges, or worse? The storm brewing in Washington isn't about the past. It's about who pays the price next.
Here's why this investigation cuts deeper than just Biden. If Trump proves unelected insiders called the shots, it rewrites the very definition of presidential authority. Think about the precedent. Nixon had backroom operators during Watergate. Clinton faced impeachment for lying under oath. Even Reagan's Iran-Contra scandal exposed shadow decision-makers. But no president has ever faced an inquiry into whether he himself was sidelined inside his own White House. That's the danger zone. If Biden's inner circle effectively governed without him, then America was living under what Trump calls a shadow presidency. And once that term sticks, history books don't let it go. For Trump, the strategy is twofold. 1, exact revenge for years of Democratic investigations. 2, cement his image as the president who exposed corruption at the highest level. Republicans see payback, Democrats see survival. But here's the meltdown moment. If this becomes normal, every president will inherit not just a country, but a subpoena waiting for them at the door. The peaceful transfer of power, the one sacred ritual of U.S. democracy, collapses into perpetual retaliation. And inside Washington, both parties know it. Democrats whisper that if this probe lands hard, Biden's reputation could sink lower than Nixon's. Republicans whisper something else, that it might boost Trump's re-election chances in 2028 before the campaign even begins. This isn't oversight anymore. It's political warfare with no exit. So what happens next? 3 explosive paths are on the table. House Republicans drag Ron Klain, Susan Rice, Jake Sullivan into the spotlight. Televised, primetime, questions like, "Did you ever approve decisions Biden didn't sign off on?" Clips go viral. Trump's approval rating, now hovering around 48% in September 2025, Gallup spikes higher. Democrats panic heading into the midterms. Democrats fight in court. They argue executive privilege shields Biden's staff. Federal judges stall the investigation. Months of delays. Headlines shift. The public tunes out. Trump loses momentum, and Democrats regroup. But the cost? Trust in DOJ independence collapses even further. This is the nightmare scenario for Democrats. A leaked memo, a whistleblower, something that shows Biden's aides overruling him on Afghanistan or Ukraine. That would trigger not just hearings, but calls for accountability, even prosecution. Imagine a former president's staff facing indictments for running the country in his name. That would make Watergate look like a sideshow. Each outcome carries risks. Each raises stakes. But all roads lead to one conclusion. This is Washington heading into uncharted territory. So, here's the question you need to wrestle with. Do you believe Joe Biden truly ran his own White House? Or was America living under a shadow presidency?
And think about the fallout. If Trump succeeds, future presidents could all face post-term investigations. If he fails, the public may never know who made the biggest decisions of the last 4 years. Either way, America's political norms are collapsing in real time. This story isn't ending, it's just beginning. Like, share, and subscribe, because when the next subpoena drops, the meltdown will be bigger, the stakes higher, and the truth even harder to ignore.